Hello there gang, or welcome back. If you just watched the previous video, good news just on the action figures, but you know there's too much going on in the world and sometimes we want to talk about it, so that's why we're doing Good News Extra. I'll come up with a snappier name later. I probably won't. Where we're going to talk about movies, video games, comic books, pro wrestling and all points in between. So once again gang, not going to waste any more of your time, let's talk about the top stories of the day. And the first story is kind of a lame one. So there's a positive story coming up afterwards, but it kind of is like the biggest story to talk about, which is Jonathan Majors, aka Kang the Conqueror, aka like the guy who the MCU are building their entire next 10 years around, just got arrested for domestic disputes. Shall we say? This is a real tough thing. Like this is a silly, wacky show, but it's pretty prevalent to all the things that we're interested in. So the fact of the matter is, he's been arrested. There's a 30-year-old lady who has, bruises and injuries, saying that, well, they're from him. That's all we know, though. Ain't nobody proven nothing nowhere, no court of law or anything like that. I don't want to be a part of trial by internet. We're not going down that road again. So it sucks, and I don't even like reporting on it, but it's Kang the Conqueror. The whole guy, the future of the MCU, the Kang dynasty is kind of a big deal. So here's hoping, best case scenario, this is all a terrible misunderstanding. Probably not going to be the case though, so yeah, it's a shame. I'll kind of be following this story as we go, but man, it kind of sucks to talk about. What doesn't suck to talk about though, I wanted to do a bit of a crappy yin with a happy yang. Jeremy Renner, who pretty much nearly killed himself on was it a snowmobile accident? Yeah, he nearly bit the big one. Like, it was scary. He is recovering. That's what we love to see, and he has been posting videos on his Instagram of his improvements and his rehab, and he recently showed a video of him on what they call like an anti-gravity device, which is basically like a treadmill that sort of holds you up so that you can exercise your legs without placing all of your weight on them. When you see this, you realize like just how messed up that dude must have been. I mean, God bless you, man. God bless you. So that's some happy news to see. Jeremy Renner, I mean, who knows, like, what his recovery is going to be like, if he's going to get back to 100% or something near that. I don't know, but it's nice to see that he's gritting his teeth, he's doing the work, and he's improving and healing up, and I hope that could be even an inspiration to anyone else who's going through hardship. And because, yeah, he's like a A-list celebrity, millionaire, but we're all just flesh and bone, Then you can't buy yourself a new body, technically. Not yet, anyway. We don't have the technology. Maybe one day. In the meantime, though, you got to grit your teeth and go through the same struggles as everyone else. And God bless you, Jeremy Renner. Look forward to seeing you back on your feet in no time. Yeah, got a little bit awkward there, but it's because I was trying to be nice. It's not easy sometimes. Trying to come off as genuine. Yeah. Okay, but here's some fun movie news now, alright? Lady Gaga, forgot who I was talking about there for a second. Lady Gaga has been pictured on the set of Joker 2 in her Harley Quinn costume, I guess you could call it. Her Harley Quinn wardrobe. And look, I was worried about showing these pictures in case people were like, oh, spoilers! These are all over. These are all over the internet. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Like, if you remotely follow anything slightly nerdy, you would have seen these already. So don't come at me, alright? And look, they look good. I really like what they're doing with this. I thought the first Joker movie, hardly a hot, spicy take here. I thought it was excellent. Really well done. It wasn't perfect, but it was very, very good. And if this follows suit, I'm down to clown. It looks like from the pictures, the Joker, sort of the story is going to be this whole cult of personality type thing, which might sound kind of crazy that, like, how could people idolize someone who, like, murdered someone on TV? No, like, just watch the real world. Like, I can totally believe that people would idolize the Joker. So there's, this whole sort of, like, public groundswell, especially because it seems like, surprise, surprise, Gotham is corrupt and a terrible place. And there's lots of references to Harvey Dent as well. So are we going to get a Harvey Dent, appearance? Are we going to get a Two-Face tease? Are they going to turn this into a whole franchise, or will this just be a follow-up and that's it? I don't know, but I'm excited by what I see. I like what I see. It looks like Harley Quinn, I'm guessing, is just another Arthur Fleck fan, I guess. But who knows? I'm not going to speculate. I'm just going to look forward to the movie because, honestly, this could be great. What will no doubt be a similar movie of great cinematic masterpiece and glory is Tommy Wiseau's Big Shark, or as I like to call it, Oh Hi Shark. This is Tommy Wiseau. If you're not familiar, you must be. If you're watching this, of course. He's the guy who wrote, directed, and starred in The Room, the greatest terrible movie ever made. And now he's making Big Shark, which just looks like a completely bonkers, ridiculous giant shark sort of on land kind of story. I mean, it's kind of like, Sharknado, typical nonsense, but it's just interesting to cover because it's Tommy Wiseau, who is kind of a fascinating character. The only problem with Tommy Wiseau projects is that you can only capture lightning in a bottle once. You can only do something for the first time once. The Room has become a cult hit because he wasn't famous. He was just this bizarre guy who had a huge amount of money somehow that made a vanity project for himself. But now that he is famous as Tommy Wiseau, you can't really capture that again. So anything that's like weird or wacky or avant-garde, it's like, well, is that, kind of quirky, or is it just like, just he's playing up to who this is? So it could be kind of fun to watch, but it's not like The Room where you really are watching like a real product of a real weird human being. God bless him. But still, it's fun to comment on it. And from small budget to slightly bigger budget, rumours abound that we are going to get 3 new Star Wars movies announced at Star Wars Celebration in London in April, and there's a whole bunch of scuttlebutt and innuendo about what's going to be happening with Star Wars. Kathy Jenkins, I was going to say the power behind the throne, but no, just straight up like the power. She's kind of in an awkward situation here where Bob Iger has taken over Disney, and he's kind of saying 2 different things apparently. He's like, we're putting out too much generic crap. We got to make better things, make better choices. On the other hand, he's also saying, Patty Jenkins? My brain just did a fart there, I can't remember. Regardless, he's like, you need to get a new Star Wars movie in cinemas like yesterday. So it's like, we have to make good things of great quality, and I want it now. Good luck with that. So, Star Wars, it's fair to say it's been hit and miss over the last few years. I think people are saying, yeah, Dave, you always rag on Star Wars. I'm going to be fair. There's been some good stuff. There's been some very good stuff. A lot of bad stuff, too. So it's interesting to see what actually does get announced at Celebration. Hopefully we're going to have some things to get genuinely excited about. And when we do, you'll hear about them here. Not first. You'll hear about them first in loads of other places. But after the fact, I'll talk about them. Then in another sort of celebrity kind of story, again, I don't like covering them, but I covered this originally, so here's the follow-up. Justin Roiland had a whole bunch of domestic abuse charges filed against him, and basically any company that he worked with cut ties with him. The Rick and Morty producers, Squanch Games, everyone was like, we always thought this guy was a bit not quite right, no, nothing to do with him. Those charges have been dropped. That doesn't mean that it doesn't mean anything. That I didn't want to talk about it, but I did the original story where there were charges. So it seems, irresponsible or just not fair to not do an article, a verbal article, a varticle? I don't know, a farticle, the amount of nonsense I talk. Just saying that, yeah, the charges were dropped. Apparently not enough evidence to go forward with anything. So, make of that what you will. But it's just not fair to say that, someone's guilty of this, when actually it's like, well, actually, they're not. They're not proved guilty. Doesn't mean that nothing happened, and smoke and fire and all that jazz. But again, it's not fair. I don't know enough. I just read an article. It's what the article said. Make your own decisions. Man, I'm just going from like a lame story to a happy story, back and forth, back and forth. Ahmed Best, who you might know better as the actor who portrayed Jar Binks, has returned to Star Wars, but not as Jar Binks, but as a Jedi in The Mandalorian. Not just any Jedi, but the Jedi who... hang on, I don't want to give too much stuff away, just in case you're like, oh, Mandalorian spoilers. Fine. But basically, he's like a badass, awesome, cool, wicked Jedi. So that's just a really nice story. Because apparently, in articles that I've read and things that I've heard, like his sort of career was kind of... He didn't have a good time after episode 1. Like, Jar Jar, as much as we feel that Jar Jar damaged us, whew, it damaged him a whole lot more. So the fact that he's got to return to the franchise, he has had a couple of little... He's done some Star Wars stuff previously. But this is a big, proper, like, boom, man. You're in the Mandalorian. You're a freaking Jedi. That's really cool. So you want to talk about like a little redemption arc? Not that he needs redeeming. He's just an actor playing a role. But you know what I'm saying. Puts a little happy ending on this story. And I think that's kind of cool. So good on you, Ahmed Best. May the Force be with you. It's not just Star Wars under Disney that might be in some hot water. The Marvel side of things had a bit of a shake-up recently as well. Victoria Alonso, a very high-level exec, mainly dealing from what I understand in the CGI kind of side of things, she's been let go. And that's caused quite a few ripples to go throughout the MCU offices, I guess. Apparently, like, she was largely responsible for a lot. So a lot of the direction of the way that projects were moving forward, loads of the actual CGI work and effects, which to be honest have been pretty ropey over the last couple of years, seem to fall on her. From the reports that I was reading, she was a bit of a tough boss. Let's just say that she was a tough boss to work for, and a lot of people said that the conditions that they were working under, like, they weren't the best. And she was given a lot of orders or reprimands from Disney, like, don't do this, you're doing this wrong. And she was like, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. And hey, what happened? You get fired. Apparently, it kind of came out of nowhere, but that's how firings often do sometimes, you know. Nothing's guaranteed. It's the law of the jungle. But I don't wish unemployment on anyone. But at the same time, if someone's not good at their job, or more to the point, if they're making other people's lives harder because they're not good at their job, then maybe it's time to find different employment elsewhere. But still, it shows that Disney, they're not afraid to shake things up, to make change, because right now Star Wars and Marvel are their two biggest franchises that they have put so much money into, and I don't think they're getting the returns that they wanted, so it's time to bust some heads. And that's what happens. That's why model behavior is great. When the ratings go down, there's only one person to blame. This guy. Luckily, I have a great scapegoat. This guy. And yeah, all the blame falls on him. I get out scot-free. Speaking of dubious MCU decisions, did you know that there was actually talk about having Mephisto or a Mephisto-type character in Thor: Love and Thunder? Yeah, not only that, they did full-on makeup tests for him. Do you want to know what Mephisto might have looked like in Taika Waititi's Thor: Love and Thunder? Do you think it's going to be bollocks? You're right. This is what he looks like. Whew. You know that if they had a Mephisto-type character, it would have been comedy. It would have been played for laughs. So with that being the case, yeah, he looks like you would expect. You can imagine him in the Pantheon with all the other gods just being weird and stupid and kind of making a mockery of the things that we followed for the last 10 years and kind of got invested in and cared about. Man, Thor: Love and Thunder sucked. But he totally looks like the devil from Tenacious D's tribute video. There's David Grohl under that makeup, by the way. You knew that already. But yeah, looks ridiculous, looks stupid. So glad that didn't happen in the MCU. Will we ever see Mephisto? Who knows? But at least if we do, he won't look like this. Speaking of the MCU, there are some big rumors as to what the Deadpool 3 story is actually going to be. So you know what? Fairness to you, alright? This isn't that easy to see unless you really want to seek it out. So skip forward to the next segment if you don't want to know what the rumored storyline for Deadpool 3 is. Alright? Pro wrestling style, gonna give you till the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, come on, break it up. Alright, there you go. So, the rumored story for Deadpool 3 is that the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, that's right, isn't it? Owen Wilson's Mobius character, they're gonna be pursuing Logan. Because, obviously, Wolverine, X-Men Days of Future Past, that dude messed up the timeline. He messed up, he went back in time with his mind and Days of Future Past and all that stuff. It makes perfect sense, canonically, that the TVA would be out to prune him. Like, that's a really clever tie-in. If that's what they do, I'm down for that. And apparently, like, Deadpool will find Wolverine imprisoned somewhere by the TVA. That's the story that's kind of circulating. And if that is the general premise, I kind of dig that. I love taking a movie from like over 10 years ago, or whenever Days of Future Past was, and using the lore and the story of that to fit seamlessly, perfectly in the MCU. That's freaking clever, man. I really dig that. However the execution might be, ultimately, the concept of weaving those two storylines together, mwah, I dig it. And finally, for movies and Marvel, Peter Weller, Robocop, has been cast in an unnamed Marvel project. This might not be big news to most people, but I'm a huge Robocop fan, so therefore I'm a huge Peter Weller fan. The dude, he's still like, he looks old, understandably. He is, that's what age does. But man, he has presence. He's got real presence, and his voice is just like, whooah! It's a badass voice. So I don't know what he's going to be doing, but the fact that Peter Weller, aka freaking Robocop, is in the MCU, that makes me happy. Maybe he'll team up with Sting again. I don't know. Do a whole multiverse crossover. It'll be great fun. Over in comic book news now, a lot of fun comic stuff to talk about. I'm going to kind of breeze through it, give you like a little Cliff's Notes of some fun stories. Over in The Punisher, he's still working as the master assassin and leader of the Hand, and it's still a fun story, despite being a kind of a silly premise. When I first read the first issue of that arc, I was like, nah. This is stupid. Punisher wouldn't do this. And then I remembered that Punisher has been an avenging angel sent from heaven, and also Frankenstein. So you know what? You can do whatever you want with Punisher, and this is actually a well-written story. And now the Avengers are after him, because Punisher is a full-on, superpowered being. Now, he's not just the human Frank Castle. No. The dude's got some chops to him. So now the Avengers are trying to hunt him down because he's doing the right thing. He's going around the world dealing with a bunch of bad guys, but he is also murdering people for doing crimes that they are going to commit. That's one of his superpowers. He can see what people are going to do and then punish them before. And that's where the Avengers are like, yo, not sure this is a good idea. So it's going to be Punishers? It's going to be Punisher, singular, versus the Avengers. That's a story I want to read. You know what? This might shock you somewhat, but I actually dabble in a little bit of DC every now and then, and I've been catching up on Tim Drake Robin. It was brought to my attention because, just interestingly, Robin has been written now to be bisexual. So he's got a boyfriend, and it's like, okay, let's see how the comic industry is going to cover this. And yeah, they've done a really good job of writing same-sex relationships. That's just genuinely really impressive. Plus just good superheroic stories as well. So just want to say a little kudos to that. Because I think some people think like, how do you go about writing same-sex relationships? Well, you write them the same way you would any relationship. You just apply logic, common sense, and the way that human beings tend to act. And that's what's actually being done with Robin. I think it's portraying his dynamic with his boyfriend as just no big deal. Just a really well-told story about two people who are in love with superheroics going on around it. Really well written, greatly put together. DC, 2 thumbs up. You done good with that one. I like what I'm reading here. Now this has got me kind of excited. We've had some preview images, alright, for the big summer X-Men, Iron Man, Avengers crossover event, and it looks like it's going to be fun. Big epic scale. What's happened? Orchis, who are like the newest mutant-hating group that the X-Men have been dealing with for the last couple of years, comic book timeline-wise, no, human timeline-wise. Since the start of House of X, is what I'm trying to say. They've got their hands on Stark tech, and now we have Iron Man Sentinels. We've got Sentinels at home. These things look badass. They're kind of like Hulkbuster mashed with a giant Sentinel. The X-Men are going to have their work cut out for them. And do they kind of blame Tony Stark for this? Or is Tony Stark going to be the savior of the hour, the man with the power who can shut down his own technology? You would have hoped that he would do. You got to build in a back door or something. And you see these kind of technological movies. There's always a back door. There's some password. You can be like, my password. Jeff. There you go. So who knows? I don't think the solution will be quite as easy as that. But just seeing giant Hulkbuster mech Sentinels clomping around, can of Coke to the first customizer who turns their HasLab Sentinel into an Iron Man Sentinel. That's a custom job I want to see. But yeah, I think I might have to pick this up in real time rather than reading it on Marvel Unlimited, because this might actually be a lot of fun. I've commented before about how the Power Rangers comics kind of cover our beloved childhood heroes, but in more adult terms, and they're doing it again. And they're doing it and doing it and doing it well. This time mentioning reference to the fact that the original team of Rangers, they're not okay. Like, their lives are okay after Zordon took the power back and gave it to others, but they're also like, we have serious PTSD. Like, we have been fighting monsters from outer space since we were teenagers. I'm not okay with this. And that's just another cool little point that the Power Rangers comic raises. It's like, well, what happens to your favorite kids' TV characters after the lights go off? And like, what actually happens when you've lived an adolescence like the Power Rangers have? It's going to be weird. You know, Angel Grove suddenly isn't going to feel like the nice happy place it used to be once you've been battling giant pig monsters. It's like, nah, I'm not okay with this. So that's just a cool little thing that the comic kind of touches on. And also, speaking of a cool little thing the comic touches on, this is just a fun concept that they finally enacted. What if Lord Zed became a Power Ranger? That's the storyline we've got going on at the moment. Rita Repulsa is back as like the new sort of big bad, and it's a case of, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend in this case. So he's not friends with the Power Rangers, but they need to work together. So Zordon is able to morph into a Power Rangers-esque Zordon form. Not Zordon, what am I saying? Lord Zed. I'm not going to edit that. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the design looks kind of cool, and yeah, I thought I'd share it with you. And finally, for comics, we got some preview pages of the Venom Lethal Protector limited series, and this is really fun as well. The first limited Protector series was great fun. It was a proper nostalgia trip back to the 90s. We even had these really obscure villains who were like Avengers knockoffs that appeared in one issue of Amazing Spider-Man in the early 90s. Bringing them back, it's just nostalgia kibble. Just, I remember this. Oh, to be young again. It's great fun. The artwork's fantastic. I love the slightly cartoony, bright comic book kind of look, but then sort of gritty as well. It's perfect. That's just my wheelhouse. And then, yeah, bringing in all the sort of 90s flair and feel. David Michelinie, I think it is, the writer. He was co-creator of Venom. And Venom is, in this, kind of goofy. Because he was kind of goofy in the 90s, but still kind of badass as well. I love the original. Like I said, I'm looking forward to this new one. Over in pro wrestling, AEW, just a little bit of Scar and Scuttlebutt. CM Punk is just... he ain't winning any more friends. So CM Punk, obviously on the outs with AEW, and there were sort of rumors that maybe tensions had died down and maybe they were going to be able to mend bridges and Punk was going to come back. No, it doesn't look like it. CM Punk posted a big old statement on Instagram basically saying how they wanted him to come back and do a match with Jon Moxley, and he said that he wasn't ready, and they were like, yeah, but you can just be a squash, you don't need to do anything, and he's like, oh, Moxley refused to lose to me, and just a lot of like he said, she said kind of thing, and then he instantly deleted it, but you know... Nothing gets deleted forever on the internet, so there were just, people were circulating what he wrote, and Chris Jericho was coming out and saying things about it, and because also he called Jericho a stooge. Chris Jericho is like a stooge who gives information to Dave Meltzer and all sorts of stuff, and again, it's just he said, it's all about the he said, she said, more did do. Oh, I'm going to have Limp Bizkit in my head for the rest of the day now. Well, why am I pretending that's a bad thing? Yeah, so Punk he ain't making any friends in AEW. But I don't want to finish on a negative AEW story. So last week, AEW put on a dream match between Kenny Omega and El Hero del Vikingo. Or just Vikingo, to get his name easier for me. And people were like, who? Who's this Vikingo? Why are they putting this nobody in a main event? Oh, way to build things up, AEW. Yeah, it was probably one of the greatest matches that's ever been on TV. It's amazing when you list something as a dream match and then it actually exceeds expectations. And I know that that's a very subjective thing, but come on. Just the human athleticism that went into that match was insane. So that's kind of great. And the reason that they didn't build things up was because the guy wrestles in Mexico. He's all over the world. It's not easy to coordinate schedules. They must have found a little gap in the calendar and gone, boom, we're going to do it now. And boy, howdy, they did it. Go onto YouTube or Instagram or Twitter, look up a highlight reel of Omega and Vikingo. It was insane. Over in video games, just a fun little discovery. Have a Nice Death, a roguelike platformer where you play this cute little Grim Reaper, has to go around reaping souls and all that kind of thing. really fun game. I love a good roguelike, love a good Metroidvania type 2D sort of platformer. This has cute little death gothic kind of aesthetic married with office politics humor. Because of course in this reality, you know, death is a business. And the Grim Reaper's got to like just sort of do his thing in the busy corporate world of death dealing. And it's a lot of fun. So if you're looking for something to kind of, you know, amuse yourself for a few minutes here and there, it's a great game to pick up and put down. Have a Nice Death is one that I would definitely recommend. It's not like the most amazing game ever, but, you know, it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, go check it out. Over in merchandise, Sideshow Collectibles that just do all things awesome and highly priced have shown a couple of images of their new Penguin statue. They've been doing a lot of Batman stuff. The big man himself, obviously, there's a Joker one. Now you got Penguin too. Only 2 pictures, so I won't linger on it. $700. Ain't cheap, but that statue's for you. When you look at the detail and the paintwork and what's been done here, so much handcrafted stuff, I'm sure, you can see where the money goes. So yeah, I can't tell you any more than you can really just see from the pictures yourselves, but I wanted to make sure that you saw them, because for an ugly son of a gun, these pictures sure do look pretty. Speaking of pretty, I think it was Toy Shiz who showed some pictures from WonderCon of these life-sized mouses that some amazing customizer made. I'm trying to find more information, but I just had the pictures and I wanted to show them before I forget about them, because that's often what I do, because I have a memory like a thing that has a short memory. I forgot what it was. But yeah, just check them out. It's fun. I love little sort of curiosities like this, and just an example of what people can make in their spare time. Best I can do is cobble together some YouTube videos, and got people out here making life-size looking mouses. Amazing. So yeah, double thumbs up for that. And interestingly, I read a little article about how Disney have made a real lightsaber. Really? But what it is that at the Disney Star Wars park, that's what I'm trying to say, in Disney World, they do have a live show where one of the actors, one of the Jedis, like lights up a lightsaber, and it's a handle, hilt, and then suddenly like it genuinely like extending, like where is this coming from? It's like, wow, that's actually pretty freaking amazing. Like how did you do that? Well, I'll tell you how they did it. It's a light strip, kind of like the one behind me, that's reeled up in the hilt of the lightsaber like a tape measure, basically. And you press the button and ching, it comes out and it lights up as it goes, and it looks kind of amazing. Unfortunately, because it is just like a light strip, you can't actually clang it or fight with it or anything, because it will flippity flop and not actually, you know, maintain its shape and form. So what they do in the stage show is they'll and have the impressive lightsaber look, and then they'll just palm it off for one that they can actually fight with. But hey, that's movie magic. I love it. And that was a cool little article showing like what they can do now. So maybe one day we'll develop the technology to probably kill ourselves in the first 30 seconds of playing with it. But when we do, I know I'll buy one. And finally, I'm kind of considering this video and the previous toy videos to be all one video. So, and finally, for all of this, not a story or a news article, but something I wanted to remind you to go and watch again. Again? Yeah, because you've probably seen this already if you follow my channel, if you're into the same kind of things, but I want to just give you a little bit of a nostalgia buzz, because I bet you haven't watched it recently, and that is the Holding Out for a Hero 80s cartoon compilation music video. Oh my goodness. If you've not seen this, then do yourselves a favor. If I can remember, I'll put the link in the description, but if you just YouTube search Holding Out for a Hero 80s cartoons, boom, you're going to get this. And if this doesn't make you feel so pumped that you actually start to well up with tears and cry a little bit at how incredibly awesome the sights and sounds that you are seeing and hearing are, then I don't know, I think you must be dead inside. This was just, I don't know who made this video, but whoever they did, I mean, if you watch the original upload, then give it a thumbs up, you know, because there is some amazing love and attention that went into this thing. And obviously I can't play it on here because I'll get a copyright strike, but I guess whoever uploaded it, they don't care about nothing, man. So yeah, go and watch that and remind yourself how utterly awesome the 80s were. And folks, that does it for Good News for today, and in 2 parts as well. So thank you so much for watching. What do you think about this different format? If you like it, I'll keep on doing it. So gang, thanks for watching, and if you want to support the channel, you can do by going over to patreon.com/Displaying-Model-Behaviour or getting yourself a channel membership. If you get either one of those, you can watch my bonus shows such as my complete chronological ranking of every Marvel legend ever made. Plus, I'm doing another new show where I'm doing commentary of the 90s X-Men cartoon episodes in the build-up to X-Men 97. So you can join me for all of that content over at the members section and the Patreon section. So gang, thank you for watching. Oh, and join the Facebook group too. Whew, links in the description below. Until next time, keep displaying model behavior.